Hey Brandy, all right, let's take a look at your ball bounce first and just quickly go through your notes here. Okay, so I'll go into that, the poses. Yeah, don't worry about emailing reference video. Okay. Good, I'm glad you're observing this. So let's just take a look at this and see how this turns out based on your reference. Okay, great, that's looking pretty good. So it looks like all the timing and spacing is definitely on the right track. Like I'm feeling all the parts that need to be there, the big parts with the timing and spacing, the sharp hits on the bounces, the eases in and out of the arc, and also clean arcs, like all that stuff is there, and that's looking great. So definitely off to a great start here. One little thing, the first note is presentation is everything in animation, and so try to get used to the idea of when you're starting a shot or you're staging a shot, try to make sure that the audience isn't seeing like the kind of the nuts and bolts of everything. And what I mean by that is like in the beginning part, like just having the ball kind of start from nothing up here. You know, it's okay, we don't want to get elaborate with backgrounds or anything like that. What I would suggest is just bringing the camera in a little bit and having it start off screen. So right away you just have like an area for your ball to bounce, and you know, of course this would need to be changed just a little bit, but yeah, that sort of thing will do a lot for your presentation as well. So yeah, that's something just to think about, and of course that won't affect your grade at all, but it's just something that's like a really nice thing to think about in terms of just like the presentation itself. For this assignment, it won't affect your grade. Later on, like that's something that will be a big thing, especially as you get into more complex animations. So let's look at your spacing here. All right. So one little thing. Generally with your spacings, like that, it's really good to look at video reference and everything like that. One thing that video doesn't really capture that well is like the actual spacings that are happening, and sometimes it'll pick up certain things that may, I mean, it's just like it's just a matter of like where that in that motion the camera is actually capturing that image. So sometimes that spacing will look a little odd, and that's just like an artifact that happens. But for this, in particular, like this is where you want to try to remove from the video reference a little bit and bring your own emphasis and exaggeration into your animations. And so one area that's really good for that is this area right here, where you're getting that spacing to increase over time, which is great, and you're getting that acceleration. But one thing that I'm noticing is that like from here to here, you're getting like this it's almost like it's getting a little bit too close to this area with this frame. And you want this to impact. The big way to check this is that after this bounce right here, this bounce, the bounce that's coming out from the bounce should be a little bit lower. So it should go from this bounce to here. We always want that frame, and that's great that you have it there. But yeah, it should just be a little bit lower after that. And so that way you get the perception of that deceleration there. Plus this gives it just like a little bit more of a snap coming in there. Like you don't want it to ease in too much. Like right now you see how it's like that frame being there and so close to this one, it almost gives it a sense that it's like easing into that bounce and not snapping on that bounce. It's a minor thing. It's definitely not something that you just like I said, your overall timing and spacing, for the most part, it's working, and it's working really well. But it's one of those things that, like, the smaller things are what's going to differentiate from a really clean and polished animation between one that isn't. So that's why you want to go through and just like really carefully pick that stuff out. So yeah, I mean, one great thing that is working really well is the arcs here. You're getting really nice clean arcs, and the ease is in and out over there. So So yeah, same sort of thing here. It's like almost the same height. It looks like this one's a little bit higher. So what do? You just make sure that that spacing is, what I would say is like there's a difference here that will work between where this ball is and this ball. So if we remove this frame, you might want to bring this frame down a little bit more, because between here and here, the alternative is that it would pop too much, because a lot of times you see like the ball here and then the next frame is there, and that's too snappy. So it's all about that fine tuning and polishing that, which is what will really help your animation. So like, look, that one's perfect. It's a little higher, and this one's a little bit lower. And we feel that bounce. And then the rotation, not required for this assignment. It's good that you have it in here. But when one more thing, like we don't need to see it rolling to a stop either. But if you're going to put that in there, it's important to make it look nice and get that rotation to ease in a little bit more, and really think about like how that would come to a stop. Again, that isn't part of the assignment. That probably it's not really something to grade, but it's also something to think about when you're putting anything in your animation, how that looks and how you're getting that presentation across. And so the good thing is that for your next assignment, it is required to have the ball roll to a stop. And I'm going to be going over that, like just some things that I do to get that down. So I wouldn't worry about that for now. And then tomorrow in the Q&A, once you learn this, you can always go back to this for the revision and polish it up. But yeah, overall, yeah, that's the biggest thing where I mean, little things with staging, but overall the timing and spacing in those areas especially were the biggest part. So other than that, it looks great. Okay, let's see. Planning. It's looking good. All right. You got all the calculations in there and everything. Okay. Let's go to your excitement pose. So, I'm glad you did a lot of sketches. That's great. Try to think of his pose like he is skipping as opposed to jumping. Okay, I will do that. Cool, okay. Looking good. I mean, I like that you're getting the exaggeration down. I love seeing the line of action through these poses. And you're simplifying, and you're really you're exploring a lot of ideas. And like you said, this isn't the only page you did. And that's really great to know. And it looks like you're going through a bunch of different things. I personally love this one, number 7. It has just like a little bit of a different emotion to it, and you added some interesting things within these that were cool to explore. The one you picked, let's just take a look at how that turned out. Here, yeah, that looks great. I think that one thing about this is this sort of pose, the excitement pose in general, just like from a broad, the broad idea of it, and a lot of times that excitement pose can end up being a little bit cliche and generic, just because everyone just thinks instantly to do this. And I like that you took like a little bit of a different take on it and added that skipping. And I'm reading that, but I feel like it could be a little bit clearer. A little bit more clear, I should say. And let's just see like what's working here is the spine. I really like that, and how it's connecting to the leg. I think you can remember to bring that neck back a little bit more with the spine. And right now it's kind of lurching forward a little bit, and we want to avoid that. The fact that your character is looking up and out, that gives that you know, I'm understanding that it gives that feeling of an excited character, like that they're happy, they're looking out in the world. Excuse me, they're doing that, and I think that's a really good touch. Hand poses are looking good. Let's see what we can do here. So for a skip, one thing I would say is that like we want to. it's almost like a run in a way, where like you would have that pose. Like I feel like your character's doing that. Like this arm would be would be, and what I mean is of it almost being like a run is like one arm, like when you're skipping, you're doing that with your arms, right? And if you do that, then the other arm is going to kind of go back like that. And so I feel like you can get something more like this with that pose. And so to make that clear, maybe even get this arm forward and then this arm is the one that's back. And so that gives us like a little bit more momentum. That's harder to say than I thought it would be. More momentum to your shot. And also we're getting a little bit more clear that your character is skipping. Again, one other thing is that with that skip, like we have to think about where the legs would be in terms of like versus what the arms are doing. And so that might change the legs a little bit, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think we can bring that. One thing I'd like to see is a little bit more of the bottom of the foot, just to bring a sense of more, like maybe like right here, just more depth to your shot. And then this one, I would maybe bring it not too far over, but something like that, to where, again, it's like getting that sense of like it's right in the middle of a skip. So not that many tweaks. I mean, overall, I think what you're doing is pretty good. It's just really trying to figure out like the arm placement is where I feel is like bringing that in doesn't really say that your character is skipping, but like doing that, I get more of a sense that your character is skipping, if that makes sense. So that's great. I see here you said you had a lot of fun with this week's assignment. I'm really glad you did. It only gets more fun from here. So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. Thanks, Brandy.